As you can see, I just arrived in the robotaxi, the Cybercab, Model Ys, and the Cybercab, all driverless. You'll be able to take a ride in the Cybercab. There's no steering wheel or pedals.
A car with no steering wheel, no pedals, and no driver. That's not a concept anymore. It's real. When Tesla revealed the Cybercab, people didn't just react. They were genuinely shocked. Not because it looks futuristic, but because of what it's trying to replace. This isn't just another electric car. It's a direct challenge to how transportation works today. And if it actually works the way Tesla says it will, it could completely change how you move, how cities are built, and even how millions of people earn money. At the same time, there's a gap between vision and reality. Big ideas are easy to talk about, but much harder to build and scale. So the real question is simple. Is this the future arriving earlier than expected, or another bold promise that still needs years to become real? Right now, owning a car is expensive, and getting more expensive every year. You're not just buying a vehicle. You're paying for insurance, maintenance, fuel or electricity, parking, and sometimes a loan that takes years to pay off. And after all that, your car spends most of its time doing nothing, just sitting parked. Then there's traffic. Cities are more crowded than ever. Roads are packed, parking is limited, and even short trips can turn into long, frustrating delays. For many people, driving has become more stressful than convenient. So people turn to rideshare apps like Uber or Lyft. These services made transportation easier, but they didn't solve the core problem. They still depend on human drivers, which means prices go up during busy hours, availability changes, and the cost of each ride includes paying the driver. It's a system that works, but it's not efficient. Cars are idle most of the time, drivers are limited, and costs are still higher than many people want. That's the opportunity Tesla is going after. Not just improving the car, but rethinking the entire system behind it. For years, Tesla has been building more than vehicles. It has been building a software and AI system designed to drive. The long-term goal is clear: cars that can operate fully on their own, without human input, in almost any situation. That idea sounds simple, but in reality, it's one of the hardest technical problems in the world. Tesla's full self-driving system is part of that effort. Despite the name, it's important to understand that it's not fully autonomous yet. Drivers still need to pay attention and be ready to take over. There have also been updates, improvements, and some setbacks along the way. This shows just how complex real-world driving is. The Cybercab, however, is built for a different future. It's not designed for a world where humans are still part of the driving process. It's designed for a world where the car handles everything. That means Tesla is making a major bet that its AI will reach full autonomy. If that happens, the Cybercab becomes more than just a product. It becomes part of a much larger system, a global network of self-driving vehicles. The Tesla Cybercab itself is one of the most unusual vehicles Tesla has ever introduced. At first glance, it looks futuristic, with smooth lines and a design that clearly takes inspiration from the Cybertruck. But what really stands out is what's missing. There is no steering wheel, no pedals, no way for a human to take control. This is a car built entirely around the idea that it can drive itself safely and reliably. Inside, the design is minimal. 2 seats, a clean layout, and almost no traditional controls. Everything is focused on moving passengers from one place to another as simply as possible. Another detail that caught attention is wireless charging. Instead of plugging the car in, it can charge by parking over a charging pad. This might sound small, but for a fleet of vehicles operating all day, it could make a big difference. It reduces downtime and removes the need for human involvement in charging. What makes the Cybercab interesting is not just the design, but the purpose behind it. It's not trying to be a car you own and drive. It's trying to be a service you use when you need it. Several features of the Cybercab made people stop and think more seriously about what Tesla is attempting. One of the biggest is the complete removal of driver controls. In current Tesla vehicles, you can still take over if needed. In the Cybercab, that option doesn't exist. This shows a level of confidence in the technology, or at least a strong belief in where it's heading. The 2-seat design is another important detail. It suggests that the Cybercab is focused on short, urban trips, rather than long-distance travel. It's optimized for efficiency, not versatility. That's a different way of thinking about cars compared to what most people are used to. Wireless charging adds another layer of automation. A vehicle that can drive itself and charge itself requires very little human interaction. That's important for a system that aims to run continuously throughout the day. Tesla is also taking a different technical approach compared to some competitors. Instead of using LiDAR sensors, it relies mainly on cameras and AI. This approach is cheaper and easier to scale, but it's also more controversial. Some experts believe LiDAR is necessary for safe autonomous driving, especially in complex environments. When you combine all these features, the Cybercab starts to look less like a traditional car and more like a tool built for one specific job, moving people efficiently at scale. One of the biggest reasons the Cybercab got so much attention was the price. Elon Musk suggested it could cost around $30,000. That number is not confirmed and could change, so it should be seen more as a target than a final price. Even so, it's a powerful idea. If Tesla can produce a fully autonomous vehicle at that cost, it opens the door to much cheaper transportation. The real impact isn't just the purchase price, but the cost per ride. Without a driver, and with the ability to operate almost all day, the cost of each trip could drop significantly. Some estimates suggest that rides could become cheaper than current options like Uber. If that happens, it could attract a large number of users. More users would increase demand, and a larger network would make the system even more efficient. However, this entire model depends on one key factor. The car must be able to drive itself safely and reliably. Without full autonomy, the cost advantage becomes much smaller. That's why the pricing discussion is exciting, but also uncertain. The Cybercab is not just a standalone product. It's part of a larger system that Tesla has been talking about for years. The idea is to create a robo-taxi network where vehicles operate like a rideshare service but without drivers. You request a ride, a car arrives, and it takes you to your destination. In earlier discussions, Tesla also suggested that owners of its vehicles could add them to the network and earn money when they're not using them. It's not fully clear how this will apply to the Cybercab specifically, so that part remains uncertain. What is clear is the overall direction. Instead of cars sitting idle most of the time, they would be in constant use, picking up passengers, dropping them off, and then moving on to the next ride. Tesla would likely take a percentage of each trip, similar to how Uber operates today. If this system works, it changes the idea of car ownership. Transportation becomes something you access when needed, rather than something you own and maintain. At the same time, there are serious challenges that can't be ignored. Full self-driving technology is still not solved. Even the most advanced systems today require human supervision. There have been accidents and ongoing investigations related to driver assist features, which show how difficult this problem really is. Regulation is another major factor. Different regions have different laws about autonomous vehicles. Approving a car with no steering wheel or pedals could take time, and the process may vary from place to place. Safety and trust are also critical. People need to feel comfortable getting into a car with no driver. Building that trust will take time, data, and a strong safety record. There is also competition. Other companies are working on similar ideas, often using different technologies like LiDAR. This means Tesla is not alone in this space, and the race to full autonomy is still ongoing. Finally, there's the issue of timelines. Tesla has made ambitious predictions about self-driving in the past, and many of them have taken longer than expected. This doesn't mean the goal is impossible, but it does mean that progress may be slower than some people hope. Reactions to the Cybercab reflect this mix of excitement and caution. Supporters see it as a natural next step. They believe autonomous driving is inevitable, and Tesla's approach could scale faster because it avoids expensive hardware. They also point to Tesla's large amount of real-world driving data as an advantage in training its AI systems. Critics, however, are more skeptical. Some experts believe full autonomy is still years away for the entire industry. Others question whether a camera-only approach is enough for all driving conditions. There's also a broader concern about overpromising. Tesla has built a reputation for bold timelines, and not all of them have been met. That's why many people are waiting to see real-world results before fully believing the vision. Looking ahead, the potential impact of something like the Cybercab is huge. If it works as intended, it could reduce the need for personal car ownership, especially in cities. People might rely more on on-demand transportation instead of owning a vehicle. Cities themselves could change. Less need for parking could free up space for housing, parks, or other uses. Traffic patterns could also shift with more efficient vehicle use. There could also be major effects on jobs. Millions of people work as drivers today, and a move toward autonomous vehicles would change that landscape significantly. At the same time, transportation could become cheaper and more accessible. A shared electric fleet could also help reduce emissions and improve efficiency. But all of these changes depend on one key piece working: true, full autonomy. The Cybercab is one of the boldest ideas Tesla has presented in years. It's simple in concept, but built on a very complex foundation. There is real excitement around what it could become, and at the same time, real uncertainty about how long it will take to get there. This is not just about a new type of car. It's about rethinking how transportation works at a fundamental level. Whether that shift happens quickly or takes much longer is still unknown. But one thing is clear: the direction is changing, and the conversation around the future of transportation has entered a new phase.